على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. We are reading from Virtues of Qur'an Sharif. We have read 30 ahadith. Hadith number 31. عن عقبة بن عامر رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الجاهر بالقرآن كالجاهر بالصدقة والمسر بالقرآن كالمسر بالصدقة رواه الترمذي وابو داود والنسائي والحاكم. One who reads the Quran loudly is like one who gives alms and charity openly, and one who reads silently is like one who gives charity secretly. Faida. Sometimes it is more rewarding to give charity openly when there is some good reason and intention is to induce others by example. At other times, giving alms secretly is more virtuous. For instance, when the intention is to avoid show on one's own part or to save the recipient from humiliation. In the same way, recitation of Quran in a loud voice carries more reward when the intention is to induce others. Besides, in this there is reward also for those who listen. At times it would be preferable to read silently to us avoid inconvenience to others or show on one's part. Thus, the reading either way has independent virtue. Sometimes one mode is preferable and sometimes the other. Many people have argued on the basis of this hadith that reading in a low voice is more virtuous. Imam Bayhaqi rahmatullahi alayhi in his book Kitab al-Shu'ab has written that Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anha had reported that the reward of doing a good act secretly is 70 times more than that of doing it openly. But according to the rules laid down by the muhaddithin, the hadith is da'if, weak. Hazrat Jabir radiallahu anhu reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Do not read in a loud voice, lest the voice of one should get mixed up with the other." Hazrat Umar ibn Abdulaziz radiallahu anhu found a person reading the Quran in a loud voice in Masjid Nabawi and had stopped him. The reader, however, tried to argue, whereupon he said, "If you read for the sake of Allah, read in a low voice. If you read for the sake of men, meaning to show off, then such reading is of no use." Similarly, an advice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for reading the Quran in a loud voice has also been reported. Sharh al-Ihya contains both riwayat and athar urging the reading of the glorious Quran in a loud voice as well as in a low voice, preferably sometimes with a low voice, sometimes raised voice loudly according to the occasion. Hadith number 32. عن جابر رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال القرآن شافع مشفع وماحل مصدق من جعله أمامه قاده إلى الجنة ومن جعله خلف ظهره ساقطه إلى النار رواه ابن حبان والحاكم مطولا وصححه. Sayyidina Jabir radiallahu anhu report that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "The Quran is such an interceder whose intercession is accepted, and a disputant whose dispute is upheld. Whoever keeps it in front of him, it draws him to paradise, and whoever puts it behind his back, it hurls him into hell." This means that if the Quran intercedes on behalf of anybody, its intercession is accepted by Almighty Allah. The meaning of the pleading of glorious Quran has been explained under the hadith number 8. The Quran pleads in the court of Allah for increasing the status of those who abide by it. and takes to task those who neglect it. If one keeps it in front of him, meaning follows it and acts upon its commands throughout his life, it leads him to paradise. And if one turns his back towards it, meaning does not follow it, he will no doubt fall into the pit of hell. According to the author, indifference to the Qur'an can also amount to putting it behind the back. In many hadiths, there are several warnings for those who neglect the word of Allah. In the book Sharh al-Bukhari, there is a long hadith according to which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was once made by Almighty Allah to view some of the punishments given to sinful ones. He was shown a person whose head a stone was being struck with such force that the head was crushed. Upon inquiring, it was said that Allah had taught him the glorious Qur'an, but he neither recited it during the night nor acted upon it during the day. So now this treatment for him will continue till the day of judgment. May Allah, through His grace, save us from His chastisement. In fact, the Holy Qur'an is such a great blessing that any indifference to it certainly deserves the severest punishment. Hadith number 33. عن عبد الله بن عمرو رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الصيام والقرآن يشفعان للعبد يقول الصيام رب إني منعته الطعام والشراب في النهار فشفعني فيه ويقول القرآن رب منعته النوم بالليل فشفعني فيه فيشفعان. رواه أحمد وابن أبي الدنيا والطبراني في الكبير والحاكم وقال صحيح على شرط مسلم. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the Sawm, meaning fasting, and the Qur'an will both intercede for the obedient person. The fast submits, O Allah, I prevented him from eating and drinking during the day, so you accept my intercession on his behalf. And the Holy Qur'an says, O Allah, I denied him sleep at night, so you accept my intercession for him. Consequently, the intercession of both of them is accepted. In the book At-Targhib, the hadith mentioned the words ta'am and sharab, food and drink, as translated above. But in the book of Hakim, we find the word shahawat, passions, desires, in place of sharab, drink, meaning fasting prevented the person from eating and indulging in his passions. It is implied here that one should abstain even from such acts of physical pleasure which are permissible, for example, kissing and embracing one's own wife. It is given in some hadith that the Holy Qur'an will appear in the semblance of a youth and will say, it is I who kept you awake during the night and thirsty during the day. This hadith implies that the Hafiz should recite the Qur'an in Nafil Salah at night, as explained already in detail under Hadith 27. In the Holy Qur'an itself, at various places, there are encouragements to this effect. Some verses are given below. وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ, and keep awake some part of the night for reciting in tahajjud salah. وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَاسْجُدْ لَهُ وَسَبِّحْهُ لَيْلًا طَوِيلًا, and worship him in a portion of the night and glorify him during the long night. يَتْلُونَ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ آنَاءَ اللَّيْلِ وَهُمْ يَسْجُدُونَ, they recite verses revealed by Allah during the night and they fall in sajda before him. وَالَّذِينَ يَبِيدُونَ لِرَبِّهِمْ سُجَّدًا وَقِيَامًا, and those who spend the night before their Lord in prostration and in standing. Consequently, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and his Sahaba sometimes spend the whole night in reciting the Holy Qur'an. It is reported about Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu that sometimes he recited the whole Qur'an in a single rakat of his witr salah. In the same way, Abdullah ibn Zubayr radiallahu anhu used to recite the whole Quran in a single night. Sa'id ibn Jubair rahmatullahi alayhi read out the Holy Quran in 2 rakats inside the Kaaba Sharif. Sabit Bunani rahmatullahi alayhi used to read the whole Quran in 1 day and night. And so was also the case with Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. Abu Sheikh Hannai said, I read the whole Quran twice and 10 parts in addition in a single night. 2 khatams and 10 parts. If I wanted, I could have completed the 3rd reading as well. In the course of his journey for the Hajj pilgrimage, Salih bin Kaysan often used to complete 2 readings of the Holy Quran each night. Mansur ibn Zazan completed 1 reading during Nafil Salah before noon, and the 2nd reading in the interval between Zohr and Asr. And he spent the whole night in offering Nafil Salah, weeping so much that the end of his turban would become wet. Similar had been the case with many others, as described by Muhammad ibn Nasr in his book Qiyamul Layl. It is written in Sharh al-Ihya that our ancestors indeed differed from one another in their practices of completing the reading of the whole Quran. Some of them completed 1 reading of the whole Quran every day, as was the practice of Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi in months other than Ramadan. And some completed 2 readings every day, as was also done by Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi during the month of Ramadan. Such was also the practice of Aswad, Salih bin Kaysan, Sa'id ibn Jubayr, and many others. Some used to complete 3 readings every day. There was the practice of Sulaym ibn Atr, who was an eminent tabi'i. He had taken part in conquest of Egypt during the regime of Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu, and was also appointed ruler of Qais or Qasas by Hazrat Amir Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. He used to complete 3 readings of the whole Quran every night. Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi writes in Kitab al-Azkar that the maximum daily recitation reported is of Ibn al-Khatib, who used to complete 8 readings of the Holy Quran during each day and night. Ibn Qudamah has reported that according to Imam Ahmad rahmatullahi alayhi, there is no limitation in this respect, and it entirely depends on the zest of the reader. Historians have stated that Imam Abu Hanifa used to complete 61 readings in the month of Ramadan, once every day, once every night, and 1 reading was completed in Taraweeh Salah. On the other hand, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said, the one who completes 1 reading of Quran in less than 3 days cannot meditate upon it. For this reason, Ibn Hazm and some others are of the opinion that reading the whole Quran in less than 3 days is forbidden. According to the author, this hadith refers to the capacity of the readers in general. Otherwise, completion of 1 reading of the Holy Quran in less than 3 days by a group of Sahaba has been reported. Similarly, according to the opinion of Jumhur ulama, there is no limitation on the maximum period in which 1 reading should be completed. The reading should be completed within such time as is convenient. But some ulama say that the maximum period should not exceed 40 days. This means that at least 3/4 of a part should be read daily. And if for any reason this much of reading is not done on any day, the missed portion should also be covered on the next day, so that the whole reading is completed within 40 days. According to the consensus of opinion, this is not obligatory, but in view of the belief of some ulama, it is better that the daily reading should not be less than this. This view is supported by some hadith. The author of Majma has reported in one hadith, من قرأ القرآن في 40 ليلة فقد عذب. Whoever completed the reading of the Holy Qur'an in 40 nights has delayed the matter. Some ulama are of the opinion that the whole reading should be completed once every month, though it is preferable to complete one reading a week, as was the practice of most of Sahaba. One should start on Friday and read one manzil daily, thus to complete on Thursday. It has already been stated that according to Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi, we owe it to the Qur'an that it must be recited at least twice a year. Therefore, under no circumstances should one do less than this. This is a hadith according to which if the reading of the whole Qur'an is completed in the beginning of the day, the angels invoke mercy for the reader throughout the rest of the day and for the rest of the night, if done in the beginning of the night. Some mashayikh have therefore concluded that the reading of Holy Qur'an should be completed preferably in the early part of the day during the summer season and in the early part of the night during winter, so that the reader is benefited for a longer period by the du'as of the angels. Hadith number 34. Hazrat has gone into great detail about how Mashayikh used to read. 1 khatam, 2 khatam, 3 khatam. Maximum Nawawi has reported is 8 khatam. Ibn al-Khatib used to do how many khatam? 8 khatam in 24 hours. How much barakat in that time? Our Hazrat Nawwallahu Maqadu mentioned that they used to get so much barakat because Allah used to stretch their time for them like we stretch a rubber band. Hazrat Maulana Qasim Nanotwi Rahmatullah says that time has length and width. Normal people work in the length and Mashayikh work in the width. That's why their time has so much barakat in it. We see Mi'raj. Prophet ﷺ did that long journey in one small portion of the night. Allah stretched the time for him. So in a short while, he did a lot. So this is called Tayyuz Zaman, rolling up the time for a person, and it's rolling all the time. So he's doing, he's working. Allah gives you barakat in your time when you try your best. This is why they used to do so many khatam. And these days, some people say, no, you can't do more than 1 khatam in 3 days. Maximum you can read is 10 juz in 1 day. No more than 10 juz. This is Ibn Hazm's opinion. And Ibn Hazm has these isolated opinions. Isolated opinions should be kept isolated. They should not be made to look like the norm and the mainstream. The norm is what the Tabi'in used to do. Sayyidina Usman Ghani, who is Khalifa Rashid, he used to do 1 khatam in 1 rakat. 1 rakat. He used to start from Alhamdulillah and Alif Lam Mim and finish at Malikin Nas, Ilahin Nas, and Min al Jinnati wal Nas. Whole khatam in 1 rakat. Same Sayyid ibn Jubair, who did whole khatam in Kaaba Sharif. Imam Abu Hanifa, the Sheikh has not quoted here, but it is narrated regarding Imam Abu Hanifa as well, that he completed the whole khatam inside Kaaba in 1 rakat. So did these mashayikh not know that hadith? They knew it, but they knew that what the hadith means is when one wants to ponder contemplate, then he should recite slowly and 10 juz maximum a day. But when one wants to get sawab and reward of the recitation, he is not doing any deriving masail or discussions or taking masail out of it. He's just reading. Then you can read as fast as you can. There is no harm. And this is how they used to manage so many khatams and so many ajza and parts in one day. So it is perfectly okay as long as you pray. Some of our mashayikh used to pray silently. Hazrat Maulana Islam al-Aqsab Rahmatullah used to pray silently. He's just looking at it and he's reading it. Other mashayikh used to pray loudly. Sheikh Yunus used to pray with a little bit of voice. You could hear him reading. So the least is your lips should move and you should know what you're reading. It is better if you can hear your own reading, that is sufficient. Because if you read in your mind, that's not reading. It's only thinking, thoughts. This is why if you read an ayat of sajda in your mind, you don't need to do sajda. You only do sajda becomes wajib when you read it with your tongue. You move your lips, you move your tongue, and you read sajda ayat. Then sajda becomes wajib. So for tilawat, you have to read, move your lips and your tongue. You should know what you're reading. So these mashayikh had so much barakat in their time. They used to read so much, mashallah. And we can do it as well if we try. You know, make an effort, get into the system. You have to get into the system. You don't get into it straight away. Ramzan is only, started only 10 days gone, 20 days left. So you must have read a lot of Qur'an up to now. Increase it a little bit and get that fluency in you. I grew up in Dewsbury, Saviltown, and there was one of our elders, Dawood Bhai Dalal. He used to have a small Quran and he used to read Quran and so swiftly. So I always thought he's Hafiz of Quran because he was reading so fast. Then I found out that he's not Hafiz. I said, how come he reads so fast? Say he reads Quran throughout the whole year. So he's got that fluency. So when you get that fluency, then he passed away in Medina Sharif. He went for Umrah. It was their last day, returning, and Allah called him there. But he didn't keep. So, this is reading Quran swiftly, quickly, and as much as possible. And Quran will do your sifarish on the day of Qiyamah, as mentioned in the hadith. Next hadith is also similar. It's small hadith. I will finish it. On the day of judgment, in the court of Allah, no other intercessor will have a greater status than the Quran, neither a prophet nor an angel. Faida. It has been learned from several other hadith that the Holy Quran is an interceder, such an intercessor whose intercession will be accepted. May Allah Almighty make the Quran intercede for all of us, and may He not make it an opponent or complainant against us. In Al-La'ali al-Masnu'ah, it is reported that the riwayat of Bazzar, which is not considered as concocted, when a man dies and his relatives are busy in funeral rites, there stands extremely handsome man by his head. When the dead body is shrouded, the man gets in between the shroud and the chest of the deceased. When after the burial, the people return home, two angels, Munkar and Nakir, come in the grave and try to separate this handsome man that they may be able to interrogate the dead man in his privacy about his faith. But the handsome man says, he is my companion, he is my friend, I will not leave him alone in any case. If you are appointed for interrogation, do your job. I cannot leave him until I get him admitted into paradise. Thereafter, he turns to his dead companion and says, I am the Quran which you used to read, sometimes in a loud voice and sometimes in a low voice. Do not worry. After the interrogation of Munkar Nakir, you will have no grief. When the interrogation is over, the handsome man arranges for him from Al-Malawul A'la, meaning the angels in the heaven, are still begging filled with musk. May Allah bestow this favor upon all of us. This hadith is in its complete form, contains a description of many virtues and has not been quoted in full for the sake of brevity. So this is how Quran will do sifarish for the reciter. It will not separate from him until he gets him into Jannah. May Allah allow us to read the Quran and fulfill the right of Quran and be pleased with us. थोड़ी देर कुरान शरीफ पढ़ ले, अपने हाथ में ले कुरान शरीफ तिलावत कर ले. सुभान अल्लाह बिहम्दिही, सुभान अल्लाह.